Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is James Martinez with another edition of Cash Flow live here on Election Day. This is the main topic of conversation all over the world right now as everybody's watching this. Some in real time, some are watching on the web, some are reviewing it from other parts of the world. I know there's just massive amounts of voter turnout for this. This probably is the most important election we've ever had. However, it's the most different election we've had as well, with the conditions and the world completely, totally different than it was 8 years ago. It's amazing what 8 years can do in terms of the changes globally that have happened. Now, I know all of you out there are in very fixed positions to determine like who is going to be the next person in the White House, and today is a big rah-rah day for the whole world actually, because everybody just wants Bush out, which is completely understandable, and we want something different. We want some improvement. So, which leads me to some important issues that you need to think about as you're going out there to determine whether or not your vote's going to mean anything. A lot of people I know are going voting knowing that just out of conscious, like they know their vote doesn't matter, but they're going to go do it anyway. That's how a lot of people I know feel about the situation because of the corruption and our inability to prosecute those people that break the law in high places of power. We haven't really seen any of that yet. However, I might add that it is coming. I can assure you that. Now, one of the things I want to go ahead and announce, also a special guest tomorrow, Bob Neverett. This is going to be a very interesting conversation I'll have with him tomorrow about the who's who and the what and what is actually going to happen. A lot of people are placed in military positions right now, police divisions, combat gear, everything, because of the supposed expected violence that's about to brew to determine who is our next image of the president. Now, this particular issue, I've talked about on the radio continuously, off and on, about the electoral environment and voting and democracy and what that is and how it can exist fairly in a situation that we're in right now, which is going to lead me to all the information that's come out regarding voter fraud and so forth. However, I do want to start with this particular piece. And it was written by a guy named Tom Hennigan. And obviously this information is probably correlated with some other of the websites that I speak about briefly as a means to see the world in a different place of possibilities. And let me mention, after my last interview with a special guest last week, somebody flashed in a message and said whether or not the announcements that I was putting on this particular broadcast were the truth, or they fiction, or that we don't know, etc., etc. And I might add that any information that I acquire anywhere, whether it's in book form, internet form, messenger, mail, all is subject to could be fake. That's part of one of the media laws that people have to understand, that is, in this type of electrical environment we live, there can be transmissions of lies all over the world, and fake websites, fake sources, all these things can occur at all times and all moments. So, and that includes all your mainstream news as well. So I want everybody to keep that in mind. So to answer your question, my intuitive opinion is such that I feel that what I am putting together is exactly the truth, and it's only based upon, because I've looked in different directions than other people and looked under different ways and put together patterns, recognizable patterns of what the credit card companies do, the banks do, and the whole conditions that we live under now, and how that affects your thinking process, behavior, etc., and how you bounce off from one media body to the next and so forth, and what that does to your ideas about who and what are in power. So I'm going to read this. This came especially, it was written today, November 1st, by a gentleman by the name of Tom Hennigan, an international intelligence expert, and it was referred to me by somebody that actually has worked in that arena and said, you may want to take a look at this. And I would suggest everybody on this particular broadcast on this particular day seriously consider whoever wins that you should have a healthy placement of doubt as to whether the person that won actually won. And that particular statement is going to be followed by this, which I will read verbatim because it is very important to everybody. Just dated Monday, November 4th, 2008. United States of America, it can now be reported that White House occupant and sexual deviant George W. Bush fraud has fled Washington, D.C. and is now at his ranch in Crawford, Texas. Bush is therefore in violation of the restricted travel warrant, a.k.a. house arrest, that the U.S. military placed on Bush fraud 2 weeks ago, which confined him to the territorial jurisdiction of the District of Columbia. As reported in the previous briefing, Bush fraud was confronted just last week by Delta Force military officers at Camp David, Maryland, when they became aware that Bush fraud was about to flee the territorial jurisdiction of the nation's capital and violate his travel restriction. Bush is about to face serious legal problems concerning his high treason against the American people, which members of the U.S. military are about to charge him with after the U.S. presidential election, which is scheduled for tomorrow, meaning today. At this hour, Vice President Richard Cheney is in an underground facility on the Maryland coast and is engaged in various treasonous communications with rogue intelligence types tied to the East German Nazis, element that we had previously reported in our intelligence briefings, meaning these are bankers that we're talking about here. Word is that current Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice has turned against both Bush and Cheney and now fears that a major false flag black op terrorist attack is about to take place somewhere on the eastern seaboard. This attack would allow Bush and Cheney to once again freeze private custodial bank accounts and somehow restrict the settlement payments tied to the Wanta Reagan-Mitterrand protocols, which are still due. Hence, this is the real story behind the banking issue, not what you've read on CNN or CNN USA Today. Note, Secretary of State Rice has made it clear that the U.S. military flag officers that Bush fraud is now a national security risk given his overindulgence with alcohol and narcotics, which continues on a daily basis as the final days of Bush fraud's illegal occupancy of the White House comes to an end. Alert. At this hour, we can divulge that the compromised National Security Agency has planned a virus named Antarctic Breeze and all electronic voting equipment in the United States. This will allow the NSA to monitor and alter the results of tomorrow's presidential election for whatever purpose they desire. At this hour, it is unclear whether they favor Barack Obama or John McCain, or whether they wish to hang the election, i.e. 2000 redo. This is an existing National Security Agency script which calls for 269 Electoral College votes. Stay tuned for hourly updates. It is none other than former Deputy Attorney General James Comey, who was illegally fired by the Bush fraud administration, that is compiling evidence of massive high treason against Bush fraud and is now cooperating with the U.S. military, who are ready to charge Bush with countless crimes that even predate his illegal entry into the White House. Now, this goes on and on and on, and I would say this corresponds with worldreports.org in some fashion or another. And for those of you that are not tuning into worldreports.org, this is a briefing that you should see because it gives a bigger scope, gives more of a global indicator of what's going on financially. Again, I suggest that if you want to follow up and do your own research with this and cross stories and find out sources and so forth, please do. That's what it is here for you to do, and that's what you should be doing as you get yourself situated for something that could be a major surprise tomorrow in terms of who our next president image is going to be. For those of you that do not know about worldreports.org, I suggest this because I've gotten a lot of calls lately from the Conscious Media Network. If you go to the Conscious Media Network online, you will see my first on-camera interview regarding this whole process and how it started and where it came from and what to expect and why this is happening. You can see that. It's finally posted today. I don't believe it's free. You have to be a member to go on there. I think it's for members only for 30 days, and then it goes to the public for free after a month. So whether or not you can afford to go on or you don't want to use your credit card or whatever to do it, you can always wait and it will be free for you to review. But on there, I discuss this particular website. I don't know if that made the cut or not because I spoke quite a long amount of time